Hello lovely brides and welcome back to my channel. I provide a weekly dose of wedding planning goodness for the stylish bride. Today we've got a bit of a Christmassy special because I'm sat in front of my Christmas tree with my blingy jumper on. But I thought it was important to get the festive feels into this week's video. Not that it's a festive related video. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll be notified every week when a new video lands. Okay, so today we're talking about the on-the-day schedule. That is the timeline that runs from the beginning of your wedding day to the end of your wedding day. And it is one of my most favourite tasks because I bloomin' love a list. I mean, it's a little bit sad that I love a list, but essentially your on-the-day schedule is a massive to-do list with timings, and it is very intricate. It involves other people, all the suppliers of course, and it's making sure that everything runs exactly as it's noted down. I absolutely love it. My brides worry about it when they haven't got a wedding planner because they don't know how to structure it and make sure that it's actually going to work for them. So today I'm going to give you the skinny, I'm going to give you the 411, and I'm going to give you my secret sauce to work out how to structure your own wedding schedule. Let's go. Okay guys, so let's get cracking. I am going to give you the tools to structure your own wedding schedule, your own on-the-day timeline. But before we start, I just want to note that I am a UK-based wedding planner, which means that I work for UK brides, or not always UK brides, but we structure things perhaps in a different way to those of you that are, for example, in the US. So just make sure that you're aware of that when you're noting down these timings. The rough timings that I'm giving you today are going to be based along a civil ceremony, and I will throw in some examples of a church ceremony as well. So just remember, they're rough timings. Everybody's wedding day is completely different and there are plenty of variables. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the steps to build your own schedule for your day. So you should still be able to come away from this video and know how to put those steps together to build the perfect on-the-day schedule for you. And I'm giving you a free download of my rough timings schedule so that you can print it, download it, do whatever you need to do with it, pin it on a board, write all over it, put post-it notes on it. Whatever you need to do, it is yours. It is in the description box below, so you can grab that and use it as a guide to build that perfect schedule. Can we also just pay attention to the fact that I'm being shown up by my Christmas tree right now? I thought by having this jumper on I'd stand out. It's pretty blingy, but I think my tree is showing me up. Okay, so let's get started. When you are building your schedule, you need to work along the set timings that you cannot change, and you need to put them in place first. So there are going to be 3 set timings for you. One of them is when you can have access to your wedding reception venue. One of them is the timing of your ceremony, which is the most crucial time. Most crucial? That's a new word. Most important / crucial time of the day, the one you cannot move and the one that you are going to work around. You're going to work back from it and you're going to work forward from it. And then obviously the final timing that you need to work around is the end of the day. Carriages, when the venue says you need to be out, partying needs to be over, and it's time to go home. So for this particular example, we're going to work along a 2 p.m. ceremony timing. So for the first part of this video, we are going to be working along the first part of the day running to the wedding ceremony, which for this example's sake is 2 p.m. So if you are needing timings for the second part of the day, just fast forward a little bit, but we're going to work backwards now. So with the 2 p.m. ceremony, for this example, I'm going to have it as a civil ceremony and the bride is getting ready at the venue, okay? What we need to bear in mind is that the bride really should be in her dress completely ready 30 minutes before the ceremony time. Now let's remember she's already at the venue. If you need to allow transport time, then work out the distance from wherever it is that you're going to be getting ready to the actual venue. So you need to work out that transport time and add that in. Now remember as well that the bride will need to meet with the registrar about 15 minutes before the ceremony time. Again, your registrar will tell you exactly how long before. It can be up to 30 minutes before, it can be 10 minutes before the ceremony. So just bear that in mind with your timings. Don't forget these are rough guides. So the 30 minutes before, bride in her dress, ready to go, and she's going to meet with the registrar at some point before the ceremony time, up to 30 minutes before the ceremony. At that point, the groom will also meet with the registrar, probably about 30 minutes before, and the guests will no doubt be arriving. In fact, it's a good idea to have the groom and the ushers actually at the venue about an hour before the ceremony time. A lot of guests will turn up early. They may go to the bar for a drink if there is a bar available for drinks. It starts. So in terms of hair and makeup for the bride, I personally say allow up to 2 to 2.5 hours for the bride to get ready. It should not take that long, but you will be so much less stressed and so much happier if you allow 2 to 2.5 hours. So if we're having a 2 p.m. ceremony and you want to be ready 30 minutes before that, so at 1:30, you really do want to be getting ready at about 11 o'clock, if not 10:30. In that time, it should allow you to have your hair and makeup done and get into your dress and sit around with your girlfriends and your bridesmaids or whoever is in your bridal party, have a glass of Prosecco or a glass of champagne or whatever your drink of choice is, perhaps enjoy a little breakfast basket and just relax and get ready for the day. The last thing you want is to be rushing and to feel stressed. Most makeup artists will take up to an hour, and same for hair, about an hour, but they will vary and it depends on the style you're going for. You also need to bear in mind your bridesmaids need to have their hair and makeup done. If they're doing it themselves, it shouldn't take them as long. If you're having a hair and makeup team come in to do the hair and makeup, it will take them longer because they will need to get round each of the bridal party. If there's more people helping out, then obviously that will cut the time down. So that is a timing that you need to work with your suppliers, but just bear in mind up to about 2.5 hours should cover it. Again, rough timings. Okay, so we've covered the beginning part of the day up until the ceremony. Let's talk about the ceremony. I do actually have a ceremony breakdown for you, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. The actual ceremony itself, I'll link the video for you here, but just bear in mind that a church ceremony is going to take about 1 hour and a civil ceremony will probably take up to about 30 minutes, depending on if you choose to have readings or any songs at all. It's completely up to you, and you can customize a civil ceremony to a certain extent, so they can be anything from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. If you're going for a confetti shot after the wedding, then just make sure you add that into your schedule. You're going to give your schedule out to all your suppliers and probably your bridal party as well, and you want to make sure that that's locked in on the schedule so that it's not forgotten. Your photographer will then know, your videographer will then know that that's what you're expecting and when you're expecting it. So whether that's as you walk back down the aisle, because some venues allow that, obviously you wouldn't be able to do that in a church, whether you want that once you come outside of your venue or church and you'll want that arranged, you'll want your ushers to help and your bridesmaids to help get everybody in position so that your photographer can get the best shot, or whether you're getting married in a church and they don't allow any form of confetti, so you want to create a confetti shot at your reception venue. Just make sure you've added that into the timeline. Allow about 15 minutes because you want to make sure that everybody is in position. And then obviously you move on to the drinks reception. Now again, with the civil ceremony, it would mean usually, unless you've got married in a registry office, that you are on the same venue, on the same site for the whole day. So you will leave the ceremony room or location and you will perhaps walk outside for your confetti shot, and then you will be moved into the next area at that venue for your drinks reception. So it should flow through immediately after the ceremony or after the confetti shot. The golden number for your drinks reception is 1.5 hours. Now I have talked about this in another video, which I will link up here for you now, where I go through the whole drinks reception and I talk about that golden number length of time. So 1.5 hours, if possible, up to 2 hours, and that will be your drinks reception. You will also, in that time, allow for your bride and groom photography and any group shots that you want as well. Just to break that down for you slightly, you're probably looking at about 30 minutes for your bride and groom shots, about 30 minutes for group shots, and about 30 minutes to have a drink and a mingle and perhaps go to the toilet. After that, you want to get your ushers, your best man, your toastmaster, your wedding planner, whoever it is that's doing the announcing for you at your wedding, and you want them to ask your guests to start making their way through to the wedding breakfast. If you are having a receiving line, you need to add a little bit more time. And again, I talked about this briefly in the drinks reception video, and I've also covered it a little bit more in my etiquette and traditions video. So you can also catch it on that one as well. I will link all the videos I've mentioned in this video in the description below, so there's no confusion, because there's a lot of references. I would advise that the speaker, toastmaster, best man, wedding planner, usher, whoever's talking, allows about 20 minutes for guests to start making their way through to the wedding breakfast. That's if you're not having a receiving line. So they will need to announce it about 20 minutes before. Don't know why I'm doing this. Once all your guests are seated, you're moving into the wedding breakfast. So if we follow the timings so far, the bride and groom should be entering the wedding breakfast at around 4:30 p.m. That's if we're working off the 2 p.m. wedding ceremony time. That's because we've gone 2 p.m. to 2:30 with the ceremony, 2:30 to 2:45 for the confetti shot, 2:45 to 4:15 for the drinks reception, and then we've allowed approximately 20 minutes for your guests to start making their way through, which leaves us with guests sitting down at around 4:30 and the bride and groom being announced at 4:30 into the wedding breakfast. At which point in your schedule, you need to then note down your wedding breakfast, but also your speeches. Now, again, plenty of variables here, which we have talked about in another video. I will link them, don't worry. So you need to decide whether you have speeches at the beginning, speeches in the middle, speeches at the end, all at the beginning, all at the end, whatever it is if you decided to do. You need to add those timings in, be very clear with how long you're allowing for each of your speakers or your toasters, and make sure that they know that as well. So add those in. If there's speeches before, you'll probably be eating at 5. If not, your food will start coming out at 5. Little bit of advice, I would say try and have your meal starting by 5:30, because otherwise your evening part of your wedding day is probably going to be a bit short unless your venue has a nice late license for you. Okay, so when you're putting together the timings for this part of the day, I would suggest allowing around an hour and a half to 2 hours for your wedding breakfast. That's without speeches. Okay, so that's for a 3-course meal. Again, plenty of variables. You might not be having a 3-course meal, but I'm just basing this on a 3-course meal because I cannot cover all bases in one video. So 3-course meal, around an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Speak to your caterer, they will give you a better idea, rough timings. Okay, then you may be going on to speeches at the end, and then after that it is through to the evening reception. So come around 7 p.m, we are looking at flowing through into the evening reception. So once your speeches are finished, you are probably going to ask your guests to make their way over to the bar. After they've got themselves a drink and people have made their way out from the wedding breakfast room, there may be a turnaround at your venue where they need to remove all the chairs and the seats and get the DJ set up, so you may have to go out to a bar for an hour and then come back in, or maybe you just have a free-flowing venue where they flow through to another area where the evening reception is being held. Either way, you need to work those timings out, so just bear in mind how long the turnaround might be. It may be 1 hour, in which case guests will just go to the bar for an hour, maybe have a cocktail hour or something fun that you've decided to arrange, or they will just go to the bar for a drink, and then you will probably announce the cake cutting at that point. After the cake cutting, the first dance will happen immediately after that, onto the dance with the bride and the father of the bride, and then the dance floor is officially open for dancing for everybody for the rest of the evening. Then you mustn't forget evening food. I'm an advocate for evening food. I would advise having that at around 9:30 p.m. Guests arriving in the evening will probably come for 7:30 p.m. depending on when you've stated your evening reception as starting, and they will need to be fed, so don't forget that. Don't think that they don't need feeding, because they will expect to be fed, and your day guests will be hungry again, and they've been drinking, so they need feeding. If you want more on the evening reception, then I have another video on that too. Ta-da! I'm covering all the bases for you today. So that is your rough timings of building your on-the-day schedule. Now, if you're still feeling confused and a bit like, what the? Then don't worry, because I told you at the beginning, I have a download for you that you can print off and do whatever you want with, and it is in the description below. So print it off, my friends. Please, please do. It will help. Any questions with your timings, throw them in the comment box below. I will be happy to help, okay? If you're wondering what time you should be doing this and when you should be doing that on your wedding day, and you're currently building that schedule, then just pop it in the description box below and I will help you out. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you have a fantastic week. Happy planning, and I will catch you next week.